Greg. Good to see you. Okay, if everyone's ready, we'll get started. And once again, I ask that once we start, please do not leave the room. Thank you. Question up front.
Hunter Mandel with Bleacher Report. Out of all of the running backs you've recruited as a coach, where does Leonard Fournette rank of the guys you've recruited, and what kind of a player is he?
You know, I don't really like to make comparisons with players. You know, Leonard is an outstanding player. We thought one of the best players in the country, certainly one of the impact players at his position, and he's a fine young man. We'd love to have him on our team and, you know, wish him very well, you know, at LSU, but I can't really compare him to anybody else.
Right here at the front.
Hey, Nick, John Garcia, juniorscout.com. Can you talk about the arrival and enrollment statuses of Bo Scarborough and Montel McBride, 2014 signees?
I'm sorry?
Can you talk about the enrollment and or arrival statuses of 2014 signees Bo Scarborough and Montel McBride?
You know, I don't think, you know, both of those situations are incomplete, and they won't be completed until the end of summer school. So I can't really make a prediction on what their status will be until the summer is over, their summer school is over.
Very back.
Luke Simons, KAGS HD College Station. You've had a lot of success recruiting over at Alabama. It seems like a lot of teams are making some strides to try and catch up a little bit. Can you talk about how competitive it is with you and the other coaches in the SEC to find those next stars?
Well, you know, recruiting is not an exact science. Evaluation is certainly an important part of recruiting good players. And in certainly our culture now in recruiting, we've sort of keep speeding up the process, you know, to where just a few years ago, we just had a camp from Sunday to yesterday. And in that camp, typically a few years ago, we would have had nothing but 2015 prospects. We had nothing but 2016 prospects in this camp. Not by our choice, all right, but it's just the culture of recruiting now. It's getting earlier and earlier and earlier, and I think because football is a developmental game, that it makes it much, much more difficult to evaluate players to try to project how that guy's going to develop, you know, from his sophomore year to, you know, when he comes to your campus. So I think it's going to get more and more difficult. But I also think that I know there's a lot made of recruiting classes, and you got a #1 class, and we got the #3 class, and all this, but that's the part of it that's inexact. All right, that these recruiting rankings, just like players in the NFL draft. You know, there's players that get drafted in the first round that never play, and there's guys that are free agents that become Pro Bowlers. So, you know, these things are not necessarily 100% accurate. And number two, they cannot predict how a player is going to mature and develop, as all players do that differently. So I think it's very competitive in our league, but I think that everybody in our league realizes the importance of recruiting and how you need to have really good players if you're going to have a really good team.
Very back.
Coach Doc Holliday, ABC 24 Memphis. Two-game losing streak at Alabama is almost unheard of. Coming off that last season, have you used that as focus, as a thing of focus for the players to stay focused and stay motivated?
Well, we're definitely in a different situation than we've been in the last few years when we came off of successful seasons, winning a championship, and this year coming off of 2 losses. And I think the emphasis for us is for our players to reestablish their identity, for us to reestablish our identity as a team. And I think to do that, you know, everybody's got to buy in, 100% buy-in to the principles and values that helped us be successful before. Nobody needs to judge. Nobody needs to complain. Nobody needs to question. You know, everybody needs to buy in to the things that have helped us be successful and submit to the things that they need to do to be successful. And I've been pleased with the way our team has done that to this point, but you know, that's been a totally different approach for us because we do, you know, we're not pleased with how we ended the season last year.
Right over here.
Coach Sheldon Haygood, Fox 6 out of Birmingham. Jacob Coker, he hasn't been into spring practice. He's 6 weeks with your guys in summer drills with whatever they do. What do you need to see from him in the early part of the fall to maybe make a decision on him?
Well, I think that we want to try to see some quarterback on our team, all right, which includes Blake Sims and all the other quarterbacks that we have, that can go and play that position and play winning football at that position and utilize the talents of the other players that we have on our offensive team based on the judgments, the decisions that they make, the accuracy that they can throw the ball with, and the leadership that they can provide so that they can distribute the ball effectively to other good players that we have. So what we expect from Jacob Coker is no different than what we expect from any of the other players, and the player who does that the best is the guy that's going to give us the best opportunity to win, so therefore he'll be the guy that we'll want to play at that position.
Back here in the middle.
Coach Prentice Elliott, WAT in Knoxville. Fans, media are going to make a big deal of Lane Kiffin's return to Knoxville this year. Is his reception there something that's even on your radar?
It's something that we joke about a little bit, but you know, I think all the people in Tennessee really dislike Lane because they liked him before he left. All right, so that's what I liked. I like what he did when he was there. I like what he did when he was at Southern Cal. You know, they almost beat us, a national championship team, in Tuscaloosa. We had to block a field goal late in the game, and he took a team that was not great the year before, and they played some really, really good football, and a quarterback that played his best football of his career then. So they don't like me in Baton Rouge because I left, and they don't like him in Tennessee, and I've had to go back there, and I survived. And I think he'll probably survive too, or I hope he does.
Back here.
Coach, Jessica Evers, WIT 42 in Birmingham. As Alabama's head coach, how do you want your legacy to play out, and what do you want to be remembered for?
When will be what?
What do you want to be remembered for? How do you want
What
to be
I would like to be remembered for as a coach is, you know, I always love it when players come back and say, you really helped me. You know, I appreciate what you did to help me be successful. You know, that's the thing that makes me feel best about being a coach. It makes me feel good when people that I grew up with in West Virginia who are just hardworking, good people say, I love to see your team play. I love the way they play. All right, those are the things that really make me feel good. But the thing that I would like for my legacy to be, and I think all the great coaches, whether it's Coach Bryant, Woody Hayes, all you hear from their players, and those are the two that I've had an opportunity to be at those schools. I coached at Ohio State. I saw how the players responded to Woody Hayes and what he did to help them. I see now how all of Coach Bryant's players talk about all the lessons and help and things that he did to help them and the impact that he had on helping them. I think if you're going to be significant in this world, it has to be how you affect other people, to me. And that is the thing that I would like for my legacy to be, that there's a whole bunch of players out there that played on our team, that we had a positive impact on their personal development, the fact that they graduated from school, the way their football career went, and how successful they were able to be in life.
Right here up front.
Sandy Hooper, USA Today Sports. Who are we going to talk about from your team in the next NFL draft?
Who are we going to talk about in the next NFL draft? That's good. I mean, all you got to do is watch ESPN. They had guys up there on our team I mean, before the draft was over, they were talking about all that. So that's the only thing I got to go on. Even though those guys aren't really very accurate, they actually put guys' name up there last year that never even got drafted. All right, but I think that the danger in all that, and I love the media, you know how I love the media, is that people, this is the media that does this, create an expectation for someone. And then it's difficult for them to realize the reality of the situation that they're in after somebody said they're going to be a first-round draft pick. And now all of a sudden they're not going to be, but that reality never sets in. But really, was it accurate to make that prediction to start with? And the biggest thing that I try to do with our players is, look guys, the number one thing that's important to you in your future as a football player, whether you stay here at Alabama or whether you decide to go out for the draft, is that you play well, that you're a good person and you play well. So if you're in the business of developing a career as a football player, that's what you should be focusing on. That will benefit you, that will benefit us. Then when all that playing is over, you can decide what your future should be. That's really what I try to do with our players. So it's not about who it is, it's about a lot of guys on our team that if they had good years, they would be guys that, you know, people may be interested in.
Hi, Mark Tracy from the New York Times. You've been talking a lot about how you'd like it if you could play even all 12 games against teams from the other Big Five schools, including obviously the SEC. As you know, there's a vote next month at the NCAA about more governance issues. Do you see that vote, which could lead to greater autonomy for the Big Five conferences, as crucial to your goal for schedules that fulfill that, or is that on a parallel track?
Oh, I think that, you know, I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know how anybody's going to vote on it. I don't really get into the politics of the NCAA or anything like that. I know we have good leadership, and I know they'll do the best at what they can to affect the future of college football in a positive way. That's just my opinion about scheduling. I think it's players look forward to playing in big games. They look forward to playing good games. Fans look forward to seeing them. You all as media love covering them, and we appreciate the job that you do bringing interest and you know, attention to our game and our players. So, but I don't think one would happen without the other, if that's what you're asking me.
Right here in the back.
Sarah Hampton, Fox 6 Birmingham. Coach, to put football aside for a second, how is it going to be a grandfather?
It's great. It really is. I mean, it's an experience that everybody out there that has children, you have something really, really special to look forward to. It's really been something for Miss Terry and I. And the only way it's really affected me is, you know, I was somewhere behind the kids and the dogs. Now the grandbaby has kind of moved up and I've just kind of moved down on the totem pole of attention. So, and you know, Kristen got engaged, so now we have someone else who gets more attention than me, so I'm just kind of hanging in there.
Coach John Longshore, Alabama News Network, Montgomery. Could you possibly have a two-quarterback system this fall?
You know, it's not something that I would hope would happen. Is it something that I can totally rule out? Not really, because you know, I think the skill set of Blake Sims can create problems for a defense. And so if we wanted to utilize him to do that in some kind of way, I guess you could say that we could possibly have a two-quarterback system. Is it something that we want to have? I've always been a guy that likes the quarterback to be the leader, the guy that everybody can rally around, the guy that has complete confidence, can get the job done for them. and can develop the kind of chemistry that you want to have a successful offensive team and be a team leader, in fact, and impact the whole squad. So I'm not hopeful that that happens, but we would like to utilize the talents of the players that we have. And Blake Sim does have some abilities that can present problems, for a defensive team.
Hey, Coach, Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV in Baton Rouge. 2 years ago, you took your team to LSU. It was a classic game, a huge atmosphere. What are the challenges of taking your team there again this year, and are you excited about being interviewed by Marcus Spears on the SEC Network?
Well, I'm really interested in that one, but Marcus Spears, man, Miss Terry used to get so mad at him and Michael Clayton. We used to have a pond, about a 2-acre pond. We had 20 acres of land in Baton Rouge when we lived there, and those two guys came fishing every day. Well, to Miss Terry, the fish were her pets. So everyone they caught, she was mad at them for taking them, keeping them. And so maybe you ought to go interview her, try to make up a little ground with her. But I'm glad to see him doing well. He had a great career. I think, Marcus Spears and Michael Clayton probably were the biggest turning point guys from Baton Rouge that came to LSU when we first went there. Sort of changed the whole culture of the state in terms of recruiting, because those guys weren't going to LSU. The guys in New Orleans weren't going to LSU. So those two big name players buying in, believing in, and they made that decision before we were tremendously successful. So those two guys had a huge impact and have always been two favorites of mine. So I'm really happy to see him doing well and looking forward, to that interview. But to the second part of your question, it is always challenging to play in Baton Rouge. First of all, the atmosphere there is difficult for any team, but also, more importantly, they always have a great team. They've got really good players. They're very well coached. Les has done a fantastic job there. I mean, the consistency that they've had with quality teams and good players is, really hard to match and difficult to compete against, and we have a tremendous amount of respect for their players, their team, the coaches, the job that they do, and a very difficult atmosphere to play in.
Back over here.
Hey, Nick, Jeff Spiegel, WBMA Birmingham. You certainly can't believe everything that you read, but it sounds like Texas was willing to pay you a little bit of cash to go coach the Longhorns.
I never really talked to them. Nobody ever made me any kind of offer like that because I never really talked to them. And as we've said many times, Terry and I were really not interested in going anywhere because of the relationships that we have at Alabama and the commitment that we have to finish our career there. And we're certainly looking forward to that. Look, we moved around a lot, at this station, we just weren't interested in having a bunch of people not like us for whatever reasons and go someplace else and try to build something that we felt like we'd like to continue to try to keep going at Alabama. And so I don't know really what you're referring to, but none of that stuff really ever happened.
Coach Stephen Quinn, Local 15 News in Mobile. What were some of the qualities or characteristics that made A.J. McCarron so successful with his time in Alabama, and do you see any of those in any of the players that are currently competing for that position?
Well, A.J. was in our program for 5 years, and one thing about A.J. is he is a great competitor, and he had a burning desire to be successful, and he really, really worked hard to be a successful player. It was really important to him, and he did all the things that you'd like to see a player do to try to play that position well. I mean, there wasn't anybody, I call him a gym rat, that spent any more time watching tape or doing whatever he had to prepare, even when he wasn't playing. I think that's the reason that he developed into the kind of player that he became, and the success that he had, with us. I mean, he's a talented guy. Obviously, he's a good athlete, but I think, his will to succeed and be good, and his burning desire to do that is really what made him develop the way he did and have the success that he had. You know, I think every one of the guys that we have on the team at that position really want to do that. But, you know, and they have a vision that they would like to do it. But, you know, I always say this when I give speeches, you know, if you're going to be successful, you got to have a vision for what you want to do. You have to commit to a process of things you need to do to be able to do it. I don't care whether it's climb Mount Everest, take a tenth of a second off your 40 time, lose 20 pounds. You have to have a vision for what you want to do. You have to commit to a process. But the third part is you have to have the discipline to execute it every day. And whether it's a diet or climbing Mount Everest, that's where most people fail. Third day of my diet, I'm eating ice cream again. All right, so we're not on the diet anymore. All right, so, and that's the most difficult part of having that, you know, because it requires you to, we all have to make these decisions every day. You know, here's something that I know I'm supposed to do, really don't want to do it. Can you make yourself do it? And over here, there's something that I know I'm not supposed to do, but I want to do it. Can you keep yourself from doing it? Well, just think, you make that decision probably already a bunch of times a day, me too, everybody in here. But if you're really committed to doing something, how important it is, if you're going to stay on track and stay on process to be able to accomplish the vision that you have, how important it is to do that every day and to have that kind of discipline. So that's the part that we need to see if they can sustain.
Final question here up front.
Rebecca Nesbitt, WIAT. Earlier you could hear the screams of the fans in the lobby. Can you just talk about the passion and intensity that Alabama's fan base shares and the culture you've created at the university?
Well, I don't think I created it, first of all. I think, you know, there's always been a tremendous amount of passion for Alabama football here. And I think that's been created by you know, all the great coaches that we've had, you know, through the years that contributed to the tradition that we have. Probably the most famous is Coach Bryant, but each one of those coaches and each one of those players that gave their blood, sweat, and tears to work hard to contribute to the success that created that tradition. And it is special, the passion that our fans have and the interest that they have, you know, in our program. And I think that's what makes it really unique, you know, to be the coach, you know, at Alabama. And I know there's a lot of high expectations, but I really wouldn't want to coach any place where they didn't have high expectations. And we just do the best we can to try to have a quality program that our passionate fans and supporters can be proud of. And that's what we're going to be committed to continue to try to do.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And hey, I really do appreciate what you all do to support football, college football, how you promote, you know, the players that play it and our game. I think it's really critical that your part of that is what makes the game special. So thank you very much.